Welcome, Holly here from Instructional Tech. Today we're going to be talking about utilizing folders on Seesaw. So when you think of folders on Seesaw, you really want to think of them kind of as a digital binder, a way to group like items. We can filter our activities that we've assigned, and we can filter submitted work that students have submitted. It's helpful for students to help them stay organized. It's helpful for parents because parents can really grasp this idea of folders and things being organized in a folder. And it's helpful for teachers because we can look at activities and submissions based off of topic and not just an entire class worth of work. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump into Seesaw here. You can see that I'm on my home page in my practice class. Over here, you can see that I'm in my journal where we can access our folders. And you can also access your folders from activities right here. So we're first going to focus in activities in our folders. So let's kind of look and see how to set up these folders. So by clicking this folder button, a pop-up will come up that shows me all of my folders. These are the folders that I already have created. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and manage my folders. So I'm going to go ahead and manage my folders. So when you are setting your folders up, it's always smart to do it beforehand. Imagine it like having a binder and just shoving papers in your binder. If you don't set up your folders or your tabs of your binder ahead of time, you're much less likely to use them. So setting up our folders ahead of time is almost like labeling our tabs of our binder. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new folder. So I know that I do not have a social studies folder yet. So maybe in my class I have social studies and I want a folder just for that. I'm going to give it a color, maybe green. And now if I scroll down, you can see I have a social studies folder. Right now there's 0 items in it because I haven't assigned any activities to that folder. But other folders have more things in it. For example, this is a week 2 folder, just from work from January 11 through 15, and it has 8 items within it. Okay, so it's that easy to create a folder. If I wanted to delete a folder, I simply would select that folder and remove that folder from the class. All that's going to do is to remove that tag or that filter to that activity or those submissions. What it will not do is delete the work that's within the folder. So this is just a way to organize and filter our work. Let's go ahead and back up out of here. And now let's look at what it might look like to add an activity to a folder. Okay, the first place you can do that is when you are assigning an activity. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add an activity and assign something. Now I just made a social studies folder, so maybe we will assign this Black History Read Aloud, and we'll put it in that folder. So as I push assign, we know that this is where we can pick our class and where you can change what students are going to receive this. But folders is also an option. So I'm going to go ahead and choose folders. And up at the top, again, I'm going to select folders. And this time I'm going to put it into social studies. Okay. It's also an activity that includes read aloud. So maybe I'll include it in my read aloud folder too. There is not a limit to how many folders one activity can go into. Say, for example, I forgot to create a folder and maybe I wanted a folder here for Black History Month. I could create that folder right then and it would automatically be assigned into that folder as I create it. So now I've got Black History Month, I have read alouds and social studies. I'm going to go ahead and push the check in the corner. I'm going to assign it to my class. And let's go ahead and view it in my class. So when it brings you to our class, we now have our assignment that we just assigned. And if we look at the folders, you can see it's in Black History Month, read alouds, and social studies. So if I go over to my folder here and I open up any of those 3 folders, it will now have that within it. So let's check Black History Month. I just made this folder and I just put this assignment into that folder. Same thing with social studies, right? I just created that social studies folder, so that's inside the social studies folder. I may already have something in read alouds. I do. So I already have some things here in this read alouds folder. So any of the things I have tagged with read alouds or put in that folder will show up. To exit out of this folder, you can always just push this X right here. And now I'm back in my home page for my class. Let's go ahead and look at what it might look like for a student. So I have my student account here. I'm going to refresh the page. And here we have that new assignment I just assigned, Black History Read Alouds. It's in these 3 folders. Okay, and our students, if they're under the Activities tab, they have that same button there. They can also go in and open that folder and see what's inside the folder. They can also X out just like we do and gets back to their home page. All right, let's head back to my teacher account. Let's say that maybe I forgot to add something in a folder. So here I have this reveals assignment. It's in a math folder, but I forgot. I just assigned it and I want to add another folder to that. I can select the 3 dots in the corner and I can push edit folders. So it's already in math, but maybe I also want to add it to my fraction work and push the check in the corner. Okay, now I have fraction work and math. Anything that a student submits from now on is going to go into both of these folders. Okay, there is already a response in here. So the response that has already been accepted is not going to go to the fraction work folder because it wasn't told that when it was submitted. So it's only in math. You can always open an assignment and add it to a folder. So if a student submitted something real quick before you were able to change it, you can go ahead and add that to whatever folder you need that to go in. But you would have to do that for each one that has been submitted already. So there's 2 places you can add the folders. You can do that when you assign the activity or in your menu option down here when you push more. There's one other type of folder I want to show you, and it's called a private folder. So let's go ahead and assign an activity. So maybe you're using Seesaw for an assessment. Let's see if I have an assessment in here. There we go. Math assessment practice. Let me go ahead and assign that to my students. And maybe they're taking this as a pre-test. And so they're going to take it once, and after they submit it, I don't want them to see their answers ever again. Okay? I want it just to be for me. And so I'm going to assign it to my students, and I'm going to throw it into a folder called the private folder. Okay? So once students submit this assignment, it's no longer available for students to see. Again, I think this is really powerful when it comes to math assessments or reading assessments. Otherwise, I like students to be able to see their work. But if it's assessment, I might want to hold that so they can't see it. So let me go ahead and assign this. And we can see what that looks like on both ends. So as a teacher, it looks just like we normally would expect it to. It's in a folder called Private Teachers Only. Let's hop over to my student account. Give it a refresh. Here it is. I can see it's in a Private Teachers Only folder. Okay, so if this student adds a response and they go and they are solving this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. We'll just do 1 so we know which one it is. And we push check in the corner. When this uploads, okay, it does not come to their journal. Okay, it's not in their journal. Also, if we go to their activities and we go to done, you can see that the assignment is here, but if they click it, they cannot open up their assignment. It is going to be blank, so they can't see it. But we know it's completed because it says respond again and it says done. I can archive this assignment and then it will not show up on my student side anymore. So we'll review, we'll say, wow, what a great work. We'll approve them. And I'm going to archive that activity. So the pretest is done. I've archived it. And so on my student side, if I refresh, it is archived. They cannot respond to it again. Okay, so what a great way to use assessments. You can always unarchive something if you wanted to bring it back. So say you bring it back and you're like, all right, students, it's time for us to take that math assessment. I want you to go ahead and respond again. So a student responds again and is able to answer those questions. So they said 6. and they said 9, they said 15, and this time they submit. On my teacher side, I can refresh. When I'm looking at this, I'm going to have another one to review. I'll review it, and then I'm able to see the students' work right next to each other. Here's their pre-test and here's their post-test. So it's a really great way to be able to go back and forth between student work to see where there has been growth, allowing students to continue to take their assessments until they master. So even if there's another assessment they put in, all 3 of them will be right there in a row, and students aren't able to access and go back to those. So they're not able to kind of manipulate maybe what they've already done or just copy over their answers. All right, I'm going to go ahead home. So some other ideas of ways that you can utilize folders. If you're only using one class, so say for example, when you are in your name, maybe a specials teacher only has one class for the entire period, but you want a folder for their drawing and their photography. Maybe you're a kindergarten teacher and you don't want to utilize all of those classes. You want them to go to one spot. Well, within that one class, you can now have your math folder and your reading folder and your letters folder. Another thing that I really like is a showcase folder. So if you look in my folders, I have a showcase folder. And this is where I might want to put work that I want to show the class. Maybe this is really great examples, and I'm going to pull this up on my board and show my students some great examples. I can also use my showcase folder to look at just one student's work that I put into that folder. So if I head over to the journal and I pick my student that I want to look at, I want to look at into Holly Mecker's folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click that student and then select the folders next to it. From here, I see just Holly's submitted work that's in each folder. So maybe that's when I would want to go to the showcase folder. And this is all the work for Holly that I want to show at conferences. I want to show the parent the amazing work that they're doing in Seesaw through their showcase folder. So that's a way that I might use the showcase folder. You can also use the folders as a way to discover trends in student work or in their behaviors. For example, I have a folder that is for check-ins. I might give my students a check-in every day, and they tell me how they're feeling, why they're feeling that way, how I can help. And so maybe I've noticed Holly's been having kind of a rough few days, and so I'm going to look at her check-ins, and I see that she's been sad. It was just a rough morning, so it doesn't look like she really knows why she's sad. She's kind of feeling meh. She's ready for a break. Again, meh, just not feeling it. Can we talk later this afternoon if I'm still grumpy? And then she's tired. My baby sister was awake crying all night. She kept me awake. So maybe that's really what's going on here. Maybe there's some family dynamics that we need to work through. And so by looking at her check-ins, I'm able to see trends in behavior. I maybe could also see trends in maybe her math work. So maybe she's been struggling in math and I can't isolate exactly what's wrong. So maybe I could look at all of her math work and kind of see where the struggle is. We can also see drafts that are a student's draft that would go in this folder that maybe they haven't submitted yet. So that's just another way that you can use your folders to look through your journal for a single student. Okay, so if you have any questions or any suggestions on how you are using folders, we would love to hear from you in the comments. I will also leave a link to our blog. We have a blog post about folders as well on our Elkhart blog. So I'll leave a link to that below in the description. Thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you next time.